Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive into something called the A5 model, a psychological playbook for, well, modern mind control. It's this science-backed system you see being used everywhere, from the ads you watch to the politics you hear about. And honestly, understanding how it works isn't just some interesting factoid. It's pretty much essential for keeping your own mind, well, yours.
But before we get into the nuts and bolts, let's start with a big idea, one that kind of challenges our whole sense of self. We all love to think we're in the driver's seat, right? That our thoughts, our decisions, they're ours. But what if that feeling of being in control? What if it's just a really convincing illusion?
So, I want you to really ask yourself this. It's a simple question, but it's a deep one. Is your brain truly 100% in your own possession? The answer, as you're about to see, isn't nearly as simple as you might think.
Okay, let's really get into this quote, because it's at the heart of everything. See, the core idea here is that the easiest person to influence, the easiest target for mind control, is the person who's completely convinced it could never happen to them. That confidence, that's the crack in the armor. That's the vulnerability. Think of it this way. Saying, "I'm too smart to be controlled," is basically the same as saying, "Nah, my computer is too smart to get hacked. I don't need any antivirus software." In both situations, that feeling of being invulnerable doesn't make you strong. It just paints a giant target on your back. So how does this control actually happen? Well, it's not magic. It's a system, a very specific playbook. It's called the A5 model, and we're about to break the whole thing down step by step.
First, we got to know the players. On one side, you have the operator. Now, this could be anyone, a politician, a big company, a government agency. And on the other side, you've got the target. That's the person whose mind the operator is trying to get into. The whole point for the operator is to get the target to stop thinking for themselves.
And here it is, the playbook itself. The A5 model is built on 5 carefully designed steps, and they all just happen to start with the letter A. We've got agenda, attention, authority, ancestor, and agitation. Let's break them down. It all kicks off with step 1, agenda. You see, you can't have manipulation without a clear goal. It's just impossible. The operator has to have a very specific thing they want, whether it's to get you to vote a certain way, buy their product, or join their movement. That agenda is the starting point and the final destination for this whole process.
All right, so once the agenda is locked in, the operator has to actually get inside your head. These next 2 steps, they're all about slipping past your brain's natural defenses to get access and, critically, to make sure you obey.
Step 2 is all about attention. Your brain has this built-in gatekeeper called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It's constantly filtering things out. So how do you get past it? The ultimate weapon is novelty. Something new, something unexpected. Our brains are hardwired to snap to attention. A shocking ad, a sudden protest, a wild claim, they all use novelty to hijack your focus.
Okay, so they've got your attention. Now comes step 3, authority. You know, our brains are kind of lazy. They love shortcuts to save energy. Instead of thinking through every little decision, we naturally tend to just listen to an expert or an authority figure. It's easier. And that mental shortcut? Well, that's a goldmine for an operator who wants to make you compliant.
And if you want to see just how powerful this is, you have to look at the infamous Milgram experiment back in 1961. The setup was simple. A guy in a lab coat, the authority, told a regular person to give what they thought were real electric shocks to another person every time they got a question wrong. And with every wrong answer, the voltage went up.
The results were absolutely terrifying. A jaw-dropping 65% of people went all the way, delivering the maximum 450-volt shock, a dose that could easily be fatal, all because a guy in a lab coat told them to. And that right there is why you see actors in lab coats selling you toothpaste. It just works.
Okay, from here, the playbook, it gets even deeper, even more primal. The next few steps are designed to bypass your logical mind completely. They target our oldest, most buried fears and then weaponize our emotions. Step 4 is ancestor. This gets into epigenetics, which is really just a fancy way of saying that some traits, especially fear, can be passed down through our genes. It means your behavior isn't just a product of your own life experiences, it's also shaped by the survival lessons learned by your great-great-grandparents generations ago. So think about it like this. There are 2 kinds of fear. There's learned fear. You touch a hot stove, it hurts, you learn not to do that again. Simple. But then there's inherited fear. A dog raised in a city, one that's never even seen a picture of a tiger, will still freak out if it sees one. That fear isn't learned, it's basically hardwired into its DNA from its ancestors.
And we humans have those too.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most powerful piece of the puzzle, agitation. The whole goal here is to stir you up, to create this feeling of emotional chaos and restlessness. Because when you're agitated, your logical brain it checks out, it goes offline. And that creates a void, a gap that the operator is more than happy to fill with their ideas, with their solution.
And agitation isn't all or nothing. It works on a scale. At the mildest level, you see it in ads all the time. A commercial's job is to convince you that, even if you thought you were happy, your life is actually missing something, their product. It's a tiny seed of dissatisfaction, a mild agitation.
Then you get to a more serious level. This is where political operators really thrive. They build these big stories, these narratives, that claim your whole way of life is about to be destroyed, that your kids are in danger if the other side wins. It's designed to make you feel really distressed and desperate for the safety that only they can provide.
And finally, at its most extreme, agitation is used to engineer mass panic, a sudden war, a riot that seems to come out of nowhere. These events can create so much fear, so much chaos, that the logical part of an entire population's brain just shuts down. It makes people compliant, desperate for any authority figure to step in and restore order.
So, after seeing this whole playbook laid out, there's really only one question that matters. What do we do about it? How can you possibly defend yourself against something this sophisticated? Well, believe it or not, there is an antidote. First, though, we have to respect the scale of this thing. The A5 model isn't just some cheap psychological trick. It's a full-on assault that works on a biological, even a genetic level. It's targeting the very core of how our brains are wired, which makes it incredibly tough to fight back against with just gut instinct. But, like I said, there is an antidote, and it's one simple but incredibly powerful word: awareness. The thing is, the A5 model's power just plummets the moment you realize it's being used on you. The second you know the playbook, its power over you starts to evaporate. Knowing the game is the first and the most important step to taking back control.
And really, that's the key takeaway here. The next time you're scrolling through the news or watching a commercial or listening to a political speech, you have the blueprint. You can see the strengths. You can spot the steps as they're happening. So now that you see the playbook, what are you going to notice?